Okay, this is going to be a painful video. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not that excited to record this. There's some guys that we're going to be talking about that I actually really like. I mean, I drafted Aaron Jones in a decent amount of leagues, but I think we should go through, I think that we should take a realistic approach to what's been happening over the past month with these guys and seeing if maybe we could go through, cash out now, get whatever we can in a trade, or maybe, just maybe, a couple of these guys can be buy lows. But of course, before we get into it, go down there, drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. I'll try to respond to as many of those as I possibly can. And of course, if you want to come out and get your questions answered in a live stream, hit the bell next to the subscribe button. That way you can come out during our live streams. Last but not least, there's probably not much time when you're watching this video. That Courtland Sutton 67.5 receiving yards. I'm a madman, but we have been on a little bit of a hot streak here with these player props. I'm going to be going through taking the under on Courtland Sutton 67.5. Have you seen Russell Wilson? I mean, Russell Wilson's cooking. I went nothing to do with that dinner. But of course, if you want to check out any of those player props, sign up for Underdog Fantasy with the link in the description of the video, link in the comment section. We use promo code FLOCK and sign up for Underdog. They will match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to $100, essentially free to check out. And it's available in damn near every single state. I know most people go, oh, okay, well, it's not available in California, Texas, Florida. No, it is available in damn near every state. All those states have Underdog. Just go to the link in the description. But that should be it. Let's go through. Let's dive into this video. First guy, Drake London. I love him, right? I love Drake London. I love Kyle Pitts. As overall players, I mean, they are so damn talented. So if you were just, say, taking the Sunday off, you went and you took the kids and a dog on a long hike or something, you didn't watch any football, you get back, you check in on these box scores, you go, oh my God. Well, I started Kyle Pitts today. We started Drake London. Tell me that the Falcons scored 28 points? Okay, this must have been a good day for us. And then you dive in a little bit deeper. You see that Mariota attempted 14 passes. Mariota had 129 passing yards. It does not matter how many points the Atlanta Falcons put up. It doesn't matter if the Falcons score 49 points in a game. If there are 129 passing yards in said offense, probably have a pretty good idea that your receivers just have absolutely no shot. So if we're looking at Drake London, I think that he is falling on the list of must bench every single week going forward. There's so many other viable options that you can find at the wide receiver position, even in the bye weeks, that I think until we see something change in Atlanta, hell, I mean, now that they win this game against the 49ers, it doesn't look like Mariota's getting benched anytime soon. So maybe, just maybe, this will be the case the entire season. You got to keep Drake London on your bench. I would love to tell you, hey man, let's go back, let's hop in a time machine, and let's go back to week 2 where Drake London dominates with 86 receiving yards and a receiving touchdown. And everybody, including myself, we're all super excited about what we have. If we could go back in a time machine and sell then hell yeah, let's sell high. But you're not going to get anything for selling him now. I think you got to just bench him and hope that something changes. Reality is probably unlikely. Regarding Kyle Pitts, I'm going to be a little bit more optimistic about Kyle Pitts just because the actual bar for a tight end to be a productive player for you, a lot lower. I mean, with wide receivers, there's so many guys you can go with. I mean, I tied in you about 4 players at the position that actually score fantasy points. So I still think that Kyle Pitts is a must-start guy every week, despite this piss-poor offense. I mean, Pitts saved himself this past week with only 3 targets, considering the fact that he had the receiving touchdown. Hopefully we get more passing volume in the future. I think you bench London going forward. You start Kyle Pitts. Can't trade either because you're not going to get anything for him. But someone that we have been saying to sell literally every single week this season, it seems like he's been on a sell high video for us, Terry McLaurin. Now with Terry McLaurin, I mean, of course, we were saying at the beginning of the season, Carson Wentz is not going to keep this up. Sell McLaurin. Sell Curtis Samuel. Thought we were going to be able to get something for him. And then for the people who didn't sell him, that for whatever reason thought that they could believe in Carson Wentz, I thought you were going to get another opportunity to cash out. I was looking at it going, okay, a Thursday night, you got no John Dawson. you have no Logan Thomas. I mean, it's a pretty good matchup going up against Chicago. I guess maybe Carson Wentz can save you here. Carson Wentz can do something with McLaurin, can do something with Curtis Samuel. These guys can have okay days, and then all of a sudden we can get that return if you had not already sold them off your roster. Oh my gosh. Carson Wentz, 99 passing yards, 12 completions. Curtis Samuel dropping every single ball thrown in his direction. Terry McLaurin leading the team in receiving. I mean, bravo, my man. You got 41 receiving yards. And this is in the context of no Jahan Dotson and no Logan Thomas in this offense. And we need to remember that this is the most target competition that Terry McLaurin has ever seen in Washington. Ever. Terry McLaurin historically has been going up against wide receivers that honestly probably shouldn't have been playing in the NFL. They probably should have either been in the XFL or at a car dealership trying to sell a car, or maybe at that same car dealership and running the books, being an accountant. It's been hideous, the receivers that Terry McLaurin's been playing alongside. Now you have Samuel, you have John Dotson coming back soon, you have Logan Thomas coming back soon. So this is a piss poor offense with a lot of guys fighting for the football. Oh, dear God. I don't know. I still think we stand by selling Terry McLaurin, selling Curtis Samuel, because with Drake London, at least there's not a lot of target competition. It's a horrible offense, but we say, okay, well, he has the talent. If the offense gets better, he's going to have a large portion of it, so he should be good. McLaurin, it's a bad offense, and he doesn't have a large chunk of it. Now let's go over to our next guy, DJ Moore. Now this is the guy on this list that I actually like drafting coming into this season, because I was the idiot telling myself, okay, well, Baker Mayfield's not good, but look at the quarterbacks that DJ Moore's played with historically. Look at freaking Sam Darnold last season. I was like, okay, well, maybe Baker Mayfield is the best quarterback DJ Moore's ever played. I wanted to buy into it. With DJ Moore, 6'6", 11, 8, 7 targets. The man's not getting the target volume. The offense is a train wreck. They fire their head coach. Baker Mayfield's injured. Looks like they're selling CMC soon. I mean, Robbie Anderson getting sent to the locker room fighting with coach. What is going on? You're going to see a common trend. I mean, at least you should have seen it so far. I wanted to start this video off with a lot of these receivers that are playing with horrendous quarterbacks. We made a couple entire videos diving in deep, looking historically at how important quarterback efficiency is for wide receiver production in fantasy football. I told myself we're not drafting receivers that are in bad NFL offenses. I told myself that coming into the season. And then I'm sitting there looking at DJ Moore in the 4th round, just completely fooling myself, going against my advice. DJ Moore, very similar to what we would say with someone like Drake London, where we know we can't sell him for anything. I don't think you can drop DJ Moore just yet because his talent profile, because he's going to have such a high percentage of his offense, especially if we actually have Christian McCaffrey traded. Don't think it's likely, but it is a possibility. Then I think we have to keep him. Cross our fingers that, I mean, we have Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield coming in fixing this. Maybe Matt Rule was that bad. It's probably a very gross situation. But James Robinson, someone else that we've had on a couple Sell Live videos earlier this year. With James Robinson, every single week, he is getting fewer and fewer opportunities in this backfield. I mean, if we're looking at Travis Etienne, over the past 3 weeks now, Travis Etienne has had more rushing yards than James Robinson every single week. And if you're rostering James Robinson here, what are you rostering him for? You're rostering him so he can be the first and second down guy. You're rostering him so he can get every rushing yard, every rushing touchdown, because we know Etienne's going to be the pass catcher. I mean, even with Etienne, I mean, being that part-time committee running back at the beginning part of the year, we know that with Travis Etienne through the first 2 weeks, he only had 13 carries. I mean, if we're looking at total carries so far this season, because Etienne was that part-time player at the beginning of the year, Etienne only 54 carries, James Robinson 81. Well, we know Etienne's the pass catcher. Etienne, 18 targets compared to James Robinson at 10. If we're looking at the efficiency of these running backs as well, now, of course, yards per carry, yards per reception, not perfect statistics. I would argue that they're not good statistics, but they are there and they give you a small glimpse. Of course, you can have one run skewing an entire data set. And at the same time, if Etienne is getting in there in obvious passing down scenarios, naturally, because the defense will have less stacked boxes, because the defense will be playing a softer front in general, you should expect that Travis Etienne would be more efficient. But at the same time, James Robinson, 4.2 yards per carry this season. Travis Etienne, 5.6. James Robinson, 5.1 yards per reception this season. Travis Etienne, 11.2. Etienne's looked like the better running back as well. We had Etienne as that buy low guy earlier on in the year because I think that Etienne, is a very good pass catcher. I think that he continues to expand his role. Has been what we're seeing so far. So, I would still go see what we can get for James Robinson. I don't know what you could trade him for now. Of course, I'll be streaming every single day this week, every single day for the rest of the season. So I have a very good idea of what we could get for James Robinson. Maybe we'll throw him on a sell high video and tell you exactly what to trade him for later on in the week. But now our next guy, Kareem Hunt, super brief here. I know people are going to be worried about Hunt. He's coming off a week where he had 1.2 points. He had 4 carries, 12 rushing yards, and 0 receptions. Nasty week for Kareem Hunt. Do not overthink this. It is okay. He went up against the New England Patriots. You do not want to play running backs against the New England Patriots. I think that at this point, we have learned our lessons. The New England Patriots have an elite level defense. You don't play running backs against them. Even Nick Chubb having a hard time in this game. Nick Chubb with only 56 rushing yards. Don't overthink Kareem Hunt here. Now going over to our next guy, Tom Brady has looked bad. From a real life NFL perspective, looks like the Bucs are far from Super Bowl contenders. Looks like Tom Brady maybe should have retired a year ago. Side note, if I was Tom Brady, look at Thomas, can you please throw up the overall passing leaders for career numbers? If I'm Tom Brady, I'm playing as long as I can to pad these stats. Make sure that nobody in the history of the NFL comes close to you. But that's besides the point. Brady has looked pretty damn bad this year. But honestly, if you're diving into the numbers, I'm not too worried because we go to week 1. Remember, Dallas puts up 3 points. It's not even a football game. At the same time, you have Chris Godwin going down at the beginning of the game. Then week 2, you have no Godwin. You have Evans up against Lattimore. He gets thrown out at the end of the game. You have no Julio Jones. So you have no wide receivers available for Brady week 2 either. Week 3, you had no Evans, no Godwin, no Julio. What the hell are you expecting from Brady? I would say week 4 through 6, this is the time period where, you have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin both playing. You have them both in there. So I think it's fair to evaluate Tom Brady during that stretch. And yes, like I said, he hasn't been great from a real life perspective. He's lost 2 games, he's won 1. But are we going through and investing into these players from a real life perspective? Or are we looking for fake points? Are we looking for fantasy football points? And we know Tom Brady is going to be dropping back to pass more than anybody else in the NFL over the past 3 weeks. When he has had his guys here, 52, 52, 40 passing attempts. I know that this is a quarterback that hasn't been hyper efficient. I get it. I understand it. But it doesn't matter. The man's averaging over 300 passing yards a game. The man's averaging 2 passing touchdowns a game. Do not panic on Tom Brady. He is just fine from a fantasy football standpoint, even if from a real life standpoint, it isn't great. Now going over to our next guy, Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson, every single week since week 2. Week 2, you all remember, I drafted Wilson everywhere. So I was running our victory laps, going, I told you so, I told you so, I told you so. Since then, Garrett Wilson, every single week has been worse. Went from 102 receiving yards to 60, to 41, to 27. In this past week, down to 8. Now, some positives, some negatives with this. A week ago, we were saying, don't panic on Garrett Wilson. They dropped 40 against the Miami Dolphins. Garrett Wilson didn't do anything, but it's because they had 4 rushing touchdowns. The rushing production is not going to keep up like this, even if I love Breece Hall. Well, this week, you had 110 passing yards versus 179 rushing yards for this offense in a game where they dropped 27 points. The passing volume is just not even there for New York. What's funny is Garrett Wilson led this team in targets. Elijah Moore is being removed from this offense. If you haven't seen it, Elijah Moore is playing fewer and fewer snaps every single week here. like the underlying numbers for Garrett Wilson, just fine. I still think that he's an elite level receiver. The issue is, since they switched from Flacco to Zach Wilson, they went from being one of the most pass-happy teams in the NFL to the most run-heavy offense. I still think Wilson's an elite level player, very similar to someone like Drake London. You're not going to be able to sell him for anything. Way too good for you to drop. So you're just going to have to bench him until we see something change. Hopefully we get more passing volume in New York. But with all my teams, we have Breece Hall. If they want to keep running the ball with Breece Hall every down, I'm fine with it. Now going over to our last guy, Aaron Jones. With Jones, we drafted him, then instead of selling him high after week 2, after he dominated Chicago, because we were looking at the usage in this offense. We were looking at the offense in Green Bay saying, okay, well, this isn't as good of a spot as we thought it was going to be. In hindsight's 2020, but definitely should have sold then, where you're looking at Aaron Jones as a running back that has been wildly inconsistent. The man has had, at this point, 3 games with less than 50 rushing yards. He's had a couple spike weeks as well. The only thing consistent about Aaron Jones is the fact that he is consistently averaging about 4 targets a game. But remember, you didn't draft Aaron Jones for him to average 4 targets a game. You drafted Aaron Jones, or at least I drafted Aaron Jones in the second round, because I was looking at no Davante Adams here going, okay, well, with Davante Adams historically being out of this offense, that means Aaron Jones is going to be a lock to get 6, 7 targets. He could potentially lead the NFL at the running back position targets. You have A.J. Dillon with too large of a role. This is too bad of an offense. If we're looking at Green Bay, while yeah, they're 3-3, like they're just fine so far as a team. I mean, their offense is bad. Even in the games that they're easily winning, they're not putting up points. They've scored 7 points, 27, 14, 27 in overtime, 22, and 10. I'm no mathematician, but it looks like they're averaging less than 20 points a game. Aaron Jones isn't getting involved as much as we wanted as a pass catcher. I almost feel like we need Christian Watson back in. I almost feel like the Randall Cobb injury, while yes, we can sit here and make the argument, oh, this means more targets going to Aaron Jones. Maybe you could try to make that argument. I think that, if anything, we just need more sustained drives. We need more trips to the red zone. We need more points for this overall offense. So I feel like the more receiver injuries that we have in Green Bay, where historically you would give that bump up to Aaron Jones because you'd have a larger percentage of this offense and the offense was going to be great regardless. I feel like we just need some receivers back in here. That way the offense gets better. I don't even care if Aaron Jones has a smaller slice of the pie, but I mean, we need a bigger pie. We need a bigger pie to take that slice from. It has been disgusting. With Aaron Jones, I don't want to tell you to buy low. I don't want to tell you to buy low, even though we are in peak panic right now with him coming off a performance with 19 rushing yards. But please, whatever you do, don't go out of your way and start selling Aaron Jones for someone like J.K. Dobbins. So don't be panicking like that. Maybe in a non-PPR format, you do it, but not in a PPR league. But I think that's all I got for you. I've tried to do my best to give a fair assessment of these guys. Try not to panic too much, but try to be realistic with how bad they've been so far and see if there's a path to them improving somewhat. But if you enjoyed the video, go down there, drop that like, subscribe to the channel. Of course, if you have any questions, drop them down there in the comments and make sure you go take advantage of this. Cortland Sutton, 67.5 yards. We're taking the under. You can find that on Underdog Fantasy with a ton of other player props and a ton of cool fantasy football drafts you can get in. Find the link in the comment section. Find it in the description. Use promo code FLOCK when you sign up. They'll match first deposit dollar for dollar, $200. Available in damn near every state. Thank you again. I appreciate you. Hope you have a good day, and I'll be good to see you out with the live stream tonight.